everyone, Maury Curtis Dunbar here at Painted Studio. So glad to be back. Somehow I managed to go live on my personal page yesterday, which is why I couldn't find myself when I was looking to see questions and answers and all that stuff. But today I'm live on my own page. At least that's what my device is telling me. I will figure that out in just a second because, you know, these devices that make your life so much easier sometimes don't. So let me see. Oh, I am live. Of course, I didn't turn my volume down, so now I'm back up here. Okay, so we are live. We are action. Yay, I've got everything turned on so we can go forward. So yesterday I was talking on my page, sorry about it if you missed it here, about the difference between positive and negative weeding on stencils and positive and negative space. So I did two identical stencils, one in heat transfer vinyl adhesive, one in stencil vinyl. We're going to use them both today. They're both pretty complex, but you're going to see the difference. This is the stencil, okay? Let me sit back so you can see it a little better. This is a positive weed stencil, meaning all the stuff that was removed is so that you can put paint through it and create an image. If we wanted a negative weed stencil, it would look similar to what we're doing with the HTVA, and I have it mounted on black so it makes it a little easier for you all to see it. We weed out all the background space, and so this is the image that would be left. You can do this both with HTVA, you can do it, excuse me, with stencil vinyl, because sometimes you want this part left behind on a stencil, sometimes you want the empty parts that we use on a stencil left behind on an HTVA, but that's, you know, that's getting a little more complicated. I just wanted to give you the idea of what a difference between a positive and negative weed is. A positive weed means that the part you're going to paint through is the image. A negative weed means that you're removed all the background parts of this and the solid center part is what you get. So this is a negative weed because that's what we do with HTVA. We don't want the extra glue around it, but on stencils you can do it either way. So stencils, we've got this as a positive weed, we've got this as a negative weed. I hope that made it a little clearer. I might not have been 100% clear yesterday, but I did want to clear that up with everybody. And before we get into using those two stencils and or those two cutouts, I have to share with you that we brought more new foils in. Yay! All right. As you might have seen recently, there are new foils coming out. We have the Luna Leopard, which, if you haven't seen it before, is a combination of silver and gold. Really, really gorgeous. Oh, I love this pattern. So pretty. So pretty. I'm putting the tabs back on everything right away because if I don't, you all know me, it will end up unrolled and across the table in our live. Okay, the next one is the Blue Cheetah. Look at how beautiful that pattern is. That's so gorgeous. Very rich, very deep, very subtle for an animal print. It's one of the things I like about that. With a big animal print. I love that we could put it through a stencil or with HTVA and you might not know exactly what it is. Now we have our brand new peacock foil. Oh, everybody's been waiting for this one. Here's the peacock pattern. Look how beautiful that is. Again, it's a beautiful, deep, rich pattern, perfect for the upcoming season. I love peacocks myself. Don't ignore the little piece of paper on there. That's just from the other transport label, and I just haven't cut it off. Nobody will get that piece when I order it from me. It'll end up used on something I'm doing. See, here's the label where it was. It didn't want to peel off easily for me, so I just cut it. And then look at what we've got. We've got the neons, blue, orange, and pink. Now, each of these are a little bit translucent, so clearly your undercolor is going to matter, and you're going to have to play with it. But look at how gorgeous that color is. I love this so much. These are going to be super fun. This is great for any of your upcoming summer events. I think if you want to make tumblers or do little party decorations. And for some of my friends who I know are very color crazy, this roof, the ceiling tiles in a yoga studio. Leslie, you know I'm talking to you. So we're going to work today, though, in some much more simple colors because I'm going to use them in two different ways. So we're going to use silver and gold since it's our Christmas in July, and we're going to be doing a Christmas reindeer on two different tote bags. And I'm going to bend the camera down now so you can see what I'm working on. Okay, this tote bag I got at Michael's. They're running a special on them. They're $1.99. And the idea here for me is that I'm not crazy about constantly giving away paper bags with gifts in them. I'd like to give my friends a gift with a gift. And these cost as much as, you know, the paper bags, big paper tote bags actually cost up to $5. So at $1.99, and then you do a fun pattern on them, that's a heck of a deal. Now, I'm going to tell you the pattern that I'm using. Hang on, let me get it off my board over here. This one, this isn't an easy pattern. This one took an hour to cut, and it took a couple hours to weave. So this isn't what I would call exactly a bargain thing, but I loved it so much that I had to try it. Now, I know that this is not going to completely fit on here. I'm going to lose probably right at the tips of the antlers so that I can keep, I need to move this to the right a little bit. Let me center my pattern. I don't know why I'm trying to center it on the edge of the material, because the material, the film, it cuts a slightly off center on my Cricut. All right, so I've got that. I'm going to trim this extra stuff around here just because it'll make it easier for me to iron it in the long run. And trust me, you want to do everything to make your own life a little simpler. You all know me. I do everything I possibly can unintentionally to make my own life harder. And so if I can actually think ahead and think of a way to make it easier, I will. Now, this is going to get a little rough right up in here where the seams are. This is where the stitching is, where the handle is. That is where I expect the most distortion. If that's where I have distortion on a gift bag, that's where I'm going to take a nice fabric bow and stitch it right on there. I tie a bow, take a needle and thread and stitch it on, and you can't tell. All right, I've got my iron heating. Now, normally I go right up into the high temperatures, but these bags are made out of polyester. So we do have to watch it a little bit. I don't want to overheat it, burn things, make my own life miserable with this after I've spent all this time weeding these patterns out. So first I'm just going to work to melt it down on the surface a little bit. And as you can see, it's changing colors easily. But up here at the very top where I'm coming slightly off camera, this is where the issues are going to be. And quite frankly, if I was smart before I try to do it, I'm going to trim this here. So I'm not killing myself trying to have this not pull. There we go. So let's see if I can get how good a release I can get without making this a cause celeb battle. This should release onto this very nicely. Let me bump up my temperature a little bit because it's not turning quite clear. So I know if I peel it back, it's gonna be a little gummy. I'm not gonna get a good release. Okay, see right here it's starting to turn nice and clear. Again, you have to watch for your fabric too. You don't want to scorch the fabric. Okay, let's see if I can start rolling this back a little bit. And yeah, sometimes this stuff changes. These inexpensive fabrics change color a little bit. As you're ironing them, they change back. All right, let's be careful here. See if I can peel this off. Get my ironing cord out of the way. Again, I'm rolling this. I'm not pulling it upright. That stresses the fabric. That stresses the adhesive, and that's where things can get gummy and not release nicely. And it does need to be hot to release. You can't iron this and then think you're going to pull it back cool. Okay, and we have one bit of gummy release right there, I'm sorry to say, but I knew that might happen. But other than that, it all looks good. I got one little gummy spot right there. All right, so now I've got my pattern released on here, and I'm going to just take some foil pieces, and trust me, I should have done this before we went live, but we're going to use Ramsey's Roses in silver and gold. Take a piece, cut it, and I'm going to just sort of cut it apart, piece it together on here. And again, the best release is to do this when it's warm, when you're setting it on the fabric. So I may be shooting myself in the foot a little bit by not having done this sooner. Let's take a little piece there. Let's take a little piece here. Again, and let's do this that way, and let's take a little bit there, take a little silver over here. Maybe another little bit of silver over there. Take some gold down here. And I think I just need to grab maybe a little tiny bit of silver to get right in that middle spot. There's this. And then a little gold right there. So I actually have just enough there. Let me grab a piece of parchment over here on the side. We're going to lay that over this. So I've patched in a bunch of different gold and silvers. And again, because we're working on a polyester, you've got to watch your temperature. So we're also putting the paper on here. It protects the foil backing film, because while the foil can take the high temperatures, it's not always the case that the plastic that the foil is mounted on can. See, I'm missing a little bit right there. I saw that as I was ironing. I'm like, ooh, I know there's supposed to be something right there. So we're taking some heat, doing a little pressure. Oh, I'm sorry, I just hit the phone next to me and zoomed out, so I hope you didn't get a ton of bad visual there. But we're now pressing all these different foils on here. And I think we should get a really nice release on this. Now, of course, once this is done, once all the foil's adhered, once we've pressed this, once we've worked at the surface, you have to let the foil cool. You have to let the whole surface cool. You cannot work this and then pull the foil off right away. The adhesive has to be completely cooled before you can do this. So I think I got a little piece that just slid right there, and I know I can see the adhesive right there, so let's make sure that gets stuck on there. There we go. All right. Heat and pressure is what foils HTVA likes. I know this is the very glamorous part, and trust me, in being that it's July, I can't tell you how much I love standing with an iron in my hand. I am way too hot. Now, I do want to say that I think on something really small, like if you were doing a necktie, you probably, instead of a full iron, you could probably get away with using like a straightening iron. I've been seeing ads all over the place for these little travel pressers that look like giant straightening irons. So for a small thing, that might work pretty well. For something big like this, you need the full-size iron. And as I've told you all before, this was my son's iron from college that never once came out of the box. I sent it with him just in case, you know, he had to do something like meet a girl's parents or something like that, so he didn't go looking like a rumpled disaster. He was so busy studying, I shouldn't have worried. Okay, so now this is going to sit and cool. And here's one other little thing. If you have a spot that didn't release well, because I got a little tiny spot right there that needs a little bit of HTVA on there, use foil that has never been exposed to heat. If you use foil on here that has been already ironed over, it will do no good. It's just not going to release. You need to use a brand new piece of foil. For whatever reason, once the heat hits the foils, it does not want to release if you try to use it again on HTVA, and it really doesn't reuse on regular adhesives either, so I tend to toss that out. Okay, we're going to set this over to the side and let that cool. Oops, hang on a second. As par for the course, I knocked it where I didn't want it. Now, here is our other stencil. Take this piece out of the way. We don't need that on there. All right, I'm going to rub this. This is just regular stencil vinyl that I ran through the Cricut cutter, just like I ran the HTVA through it. I'm just giving this a rub to make sure everything that I need to have stuck to the backing tape, which is this translucent tape with the grid on top of it, is already all set up and grabbing. And we're going to do this one on a black bag. Now, because I'm going to be using paint, and I don't want the bag to get stuck through itself and pick any paint coming through the other side, I'm taking a little piece of styrene board. I often have little half-cut pieces around from other things that I'm working on. Come on, get all adjusted in there. Stop sitting weird. And this will help. Doesn't want to sit square in here. So give me a second. I gotta manipulate this a little bit because it's having a little temper tantrum on me. There we go. That's the way I want it. Now you can see I didn't press this one. To do is start in a rolling method like this on another surface, but because we've got so many little details on this, I'm going to carefully release as much as I can and then put it down onto the fabric in one flipped over move, because there's lots and lots of little bits and pieces on here, and I want to cut this off as I go. It just makes it a little easier for me, because then I can easily access all the little bits that want to kind of roll up that I don't want to have roll up. So if you see little bits of blue vinyl on here, I'll go roll it back down, give it a scrub with my fingernail to get it on the transfer tape. And this is kind of the pain in the neck part, especially with a super detailed piece like this. It can take a little bit of effort to just get it off the backing tape or the backing paper. We're going to go slowly and carefully so I can get everything off of here that's supposed to. And sometimes stuff sticks to my fingers and then I have to figure out where it went, which is always fun. And I don't mind that the paper's tearing. That won't affect anything in the long run. Everybody has their own ways of doing this, and like I said, normally I would literally be adhering this part as I'm rolling off this part, but because of the size of this, I can simply flip it over when I'm done. And yes, this is the part that's going to take the longest amount of time, is getting it transferred to the fabric and then getting it turned over and the other tape removed. More. And I listen, when I'm doing these kinds of patterns, I listen to a lot of books on tape, or I have a movie playing in the background, something that helps keep me from going at all stir crazy when dealing with these super intricate patterns, which, by the way, I've told you before, I love doing these. It's just that they take enough time that I like a good story going on in the background while I'm working on them. There's that. And we're getting there. Hey, Amy and Chloe and Donna and Lynn, thanks for coming in today. So we're gonna, as soon as we get this all transferred, we're gonna paint. Oh, that doesn't want to come off. I don't want you to come off there. I want you to stay on there. And I've told you before, I talk to my projects. I feel like if I tell them to be nice, they actually might do what I ask. Okay, let's work on it this way. And this is sticky. So, you know, this is not an easy, simple thing. I'm trying to keep it from sticking to my hands as I'm trying to also get it to stick to the backing tape. I don't want to wear it. I want to put it on my project. Come on, stay on there. See? It just wants to, sometimes wants to stick to my fingers. There we go. Almost there. We're gonna get it soon. And again, rolling it completely perpendicular as opposed to, come on, stay there. Unstick from my fingers. As opposed to pulling it straight up, helps reduce the tension so you have better adhesion to the backing tape. And I want you to stay there because that's where you belong. And there's also a reason I keep all these little tweezers and stuff next to me even while I'm doing this, because if I get it stuck to my finger, I need something to help tack it down to the other surface, because like I have this one that goes right here and it came off on my hand. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, so now we have that off, and this is again going to go onto our bag. And like I said before, I might lose a little bit of the antler in this process. That's not a surprise. This is a little bigger than the bag is. That's kind of a given. It's a little harder to get this on here square than it was to get the HTVA. Again, I'm going to cut my stencil so that it's easier for me to remove. And the stencil vinyl is very sticky, so it wants to stick to the fabric. But I'm always going to give it a little hand. Where did I put that? I had, that's what I wanted. I had a little scrub brush. Just to, you could use anything, but I just happen to have scrub brushes here because we use it so much for foil. And then I want to cut these corners again because they're awkward. And they make it hard to manipulate the stencil vinyl. And so let's make my life a little easier. There we go. Now let's work on getting this off. I think I'm going to try from the bottom here. Now this is always a little bit of a slow pull apart. It just is, because I've just worked to get everything stuck to this, so now I have to get everything stuck onto the fabric instead of onto the vinyl. And I'll do the same kind of cutting apart that I did before. But I want to give everything a little rub with my fingers just to get it stuck on there. And actually, we probably have a little more detail with the HTVA because of the way weeding this stuff versus weeding that works. The paper that goes on the back of this is silicone paper, so it really wants to give up pieces easily. So when I start pulling it apart, it doesn't, this stuff just wants to pull off. So I try to keep the essence of the details, but sometimes I have to struggle to get all the little bits down. And yeah, I'm going to be flipping this around and moving this around to get all the pieces where they belong. And I may be, like I did before, I may be cutting some of this off just to make my own life easier. Although it is, this came from in here. Okay. I need to come up there. Down. Don't want to lose those little cutout spots because then we lose details. Okay, I need to get that off my hands. Oh, that's annoying. And yes, I know I have this piece right here to deal with. It just happened to tear there naturally, so I'm using that to my benefit. And you can see the little tiny bits will want to pop off. It's pretty natural. Okay, so we've got most of it off. I just have to get this little bit here, and then we're going to paint. And one-time single-use stencils are great on fabric because once they're applied, they don't shift around, and you can get a lot of detail that you can't get with other kind of stencils. If I had needed a regular stencil for this that wasn't a one-time vinyl use stencil, this kind of detail would be almost impossible because of all the need to create bridges to get all the plastic to stick together and not peel off. So I can get all these little floating designs in here that I couldn't do with, you know, a regular stencil. Okay. So we use silver and gold on the other ones. We're going to use silver and gold on this one. I have a stencil brush. I have my Roberson's liquid metals. These are not fabric paints, but they are fine enough that they will work well for what we're going to do. We're going to use Regency gold, classic gold, and platinum. I'm going to use the caps as little dip pots. And I'm just going to sort of come in here and deposit color in a bunch of different areas. Maybe I'll have to retack a little piece of vinyl here and there, like right here, because it got bent in the pulling apart. There we go. And that's pretty common on fabrics. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Now, if this was a sticky board, it would be even easier because none of my fabric would shift in my hand. And I actually do have a sticky board for Cricut. It's just a little bit too big for this tote bag. So I did try that idea earlier. It just didn't work well. So we're going to use this and create sort of a pretty mottled texture. Now the nice thing with stenciling on fabric is you don't need a whole lot of paint, and the stencil grabs it really, the fabric grabs the paint really nicely. You just don't want a super wet brush because then that makes everything gooey. And it looks like right now I'm creating polka dots, so I don't want to do that. I want to come up in here and I want to sort of create drifts of color. Let's see. All right, let's see what I got going on here. Maybe get a little more paint. I do this with my caps, but you have to remember to wipe that lid clean, that rim area clean, or your lids stick to everything. Get that lid closed, it's going to want to be a permanent seal on your on your jar. Ask me how I know. I do it all the time. I don't take my own advice. Now I'm not trying to make this opaque because fabric takes the paint at different levels. So some places the paint's going to be really dense, and some places it's going to be very soft, which is really what I want to have happen. It makes for a very pretty drifting effect, and it allows the paint to layer over itself really nicely. And by the time I finish this, the foil will be cool enough so that we can see the difference between the two. Now the painting doesn't take all that long. Really, it doesn't. What takes long is all the stencil stuff. All the cutting, all the weeding, all the moving and laying it out. So, you know, that's not a surprise. And if you're worried about doing stuff like I just did here, put a piece of tape. Go, and we lost our screen, our feed for a minute. Again, we are seeming to lose it. I think it's something to do with the Mevo. I actually thought it was our feed, but when I used my phone, we don't have this loss of signal. So all I ask is if you see us freeze up at all, be patient, wait a few seconds. We'll be right back for the most part. If I'm gone for more than a minute, know that we completely lost signal, and I'll just come back and start over. Okay, let's come and do this. This is going to be super pretty. Now, the one thing you should know is that I don't change stencil brushes and I don't wash them. If you get your stencil brush wet, you are making it so that it's not usable again. So I often will I'll just layer my colors and offload in different areas, fill in. This is Regency Gold that we're using right here. You can see that Regency Gold is very, very potent. So you have to be careful not to let it take over everything. But it does fade out really nicely. It's a really nice blendable color on the fabric. You see I have a little cloud spot right there that's a little too heavy, so I'll come back in with more and just sort of fade it out so it doesn't look like I swirled and then left a big blob. Okay, let's come back in here. Yeah, this isn't a quick live today. I know sometimes the quick ones people like, but that's not what we're doing today. This is one we're doing 2 projects in one, showing you the differences you can create with the stencil versus the heat transfer vinyl. Besides the fact that it's foil, I want you to see how these work as one-time use stencils on fabric. It's so pretty. Now, I really don't have to even work to offload my brush. I just brush it until I'm not getting anything on it from the other color and then move to the next one. This one is Classic Gold. This is a color that is coming in on our next order of Robersons. So this is a more yellow gold than the other golds that you see in our Robersons collection. It's very pretty, much more on the brassy yellow side. You can see that color is gorgeous. Okay, let's get up in here. Now we have other silvers. We have old silver, and we have a bunch of, God, I can't even remember all the colors we have. We have so many colors in the Robersons that I can't remember them all. Typical of me. I can't remember. I can see them in my head, but I can't remember their names. Okay, let's get this all in here. And then I'm definitely, after I fill in as much gold as I want, I'm going to have to come back in with the platinum because the gold is sort of taking over right now, and I don't want that to happen. I want to make sure I have a nice amount of platinum in here too. And the platinum reads very silver on black, which is one of the things I like about it. Appreciate all of you coming in and keeping me company while I'm doing this today. It's a little hard to get Christmassy when it's 85 degrees out, but we as makers always start our Christmas stuff in warm weather, because if we don't, it will never get done. Let me get to this other antler here. And I wanted to do this on black because I think black and gold and silver are a lovely, elegant combination, but also it will show really, really nicely, and it keeps the colors fairly true to form, as opposed to using it over, say, a red or a pink or a green. A little less color distortion. If I'm getting sort of stumbling over my words today, but yes, color distortion was exactly what I meant. So now I'm going to smash some of this platinum in all over the place to make sure it's got a nice bit of deposit on here, so you really get some gold and silver contrast. And if you're a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer fan, the old TV special, you can hear Yukon Cornelius in the background singing Silver and Gold. Whole spot right here that I didn't even get any paint on. I will not sing Silver and Gold. I like you all too much to do that to you. Even my son, when he got old enough to have a taste in music, asked me to stop singing to him. My nephew hung with it a little longer, but then again, my sister couldn't sing either, so the off-key singing felt very familiar to him when I was taking care of him. My niece, on the other hand, never once asked me to sing for her. She used to say, when she was little, she used to say, "Shh, Momo, be quiet now, I'm sleeping." So I guess, you know, each child has their own taste, and all of them know better than that I can sing. All right, let's get a little bit more silver right in here. Okay, let's take that. I am not screwing those lids on. I am literally just setting them on there until I can go back in and clean them off. Okay, so let's start weeding this design out. And I will pull all the center stuff out before I pull the edges, because that will protect the design from having me drag my hand through it in any damp parts. But this is going to be very, very cool. And if I have a little bleed because it's on fabric and pieces might have lifted a little bit here and there, that really is just going to look more dimensional than anything else. But you can see I'm popping these pieces out and they look sharp. They're creating a nice pattern. Now, this weeding will not take the same amount of time it took me to do it, because I don't have to be quite so darn careful. I just have to get it off. And if this were completely dry, I might even take tape and pull this stuff up to help me get it up faster. I know this isn't always the exciting thing to watch. Hi, Wendy. Nice to see you here. Wendy's one of our more local folks. I don't recommend everybody, unless you're really up for the challenge, that everybody go and grab as complicated a pattern as I like to choose. I joke about it, but truly I pick patterns and stuff that make it a lot of work for me. And it's because I love the little fiddly bits that I choose these kind of patterns. But they are, they are details. They're very detailed. Like I said, it took an hour for my Cricut to cut this design. Well, I shouldn't say an hour. It took 48 minutes. I know because I was running a timer on something else and I heard it end and I looked and saw my timer. So when you have these, and I skipped out on some of the other finer details because they were so small, I knew I couldn't get them to translate onto this surface well. It really wouldn't be visible with this kind of a stencil job. So I kept the bigger elements, and when I say bigger, I mean like this little tiny piece here. This little tiny piece is a bigger element because they would translate and you would see an actual result from them. Again, if you like this pattern, I will put it on my website. I will cut it for you and I will send it to you. I will not weed it for you because the weeding takes a long time and you don't want to pay me for that. I will cut it either in HTVA or I will cut it in stencil vinyl. I won't backing mount the stencil vinyl. I will send you a piece that's the appropriate size for once you've finished your weeding, and it will get to you and you can have your fun with it. At least I got on my business page today. I can't believe I was going on my personal page yesterday. That was annoying. Hi, Diana. Thank you for coming in. Okay. And again, I told you, this is not going to be a fast day, all of this stuff, but I do want to have you see exactly how this works. Try to get a couple things off at one fell swoop. I also have, by this same artist who created this file, I have a fox design that's stunning. And again, insanely detailed. Enough to make your eyes cross. I may do that fox. I have a pair of jeans that I want to do for fall. And I'd love to do the fox at the foot of the jeans. I have a pair of really wide leg jean trousers. I thought that would be fun to do on there. always grateful when I come up with a larger element. I'm like, oh gosh, that cleared something else much bigger out so much faster. Look, we're starting to see stuff. My son's little sister, his half sister, who is just cute as could be. A couple years ago, I brought a bunch of HTVA that I had pre-cut with me out to the Cape for something to do. We had one year we were able to be in a cottage, and so he came out and brought his daughter so that my son and his sister could spend some time together, and she loves doing this kind of stuff. And she was like 11 years old, and she would literally sit for hours. I'm like, that's my kind of kid. She'd sit here and just pluck all this little stuff out. Just love. She didn't want to create anything with it. She just wanted to do the plucking. And I thought that was the cutest thing. She's a sweet girl. There's that off. And we're getting there. I'm getting up higher. And I'm telling you, by the time this is done, I'll be able to pull the foil off the other one, and we can see the differences and see if the other one needs a little touch up with any extra foil. You pick something in detailed design, it just doesn't go fast. It's not designed to. That detailing, no matter which way you look at it, takes time. When I go home tonight, I'm going to have little tiny bits of plastic stuck all over me everywhere. Unavoidable. Tomorrow I'll be using the other stencils that you might have seen me cut if you are on my regular friends page. It wasn't intentional, but I think it's set public, so you should be able to see it. If you look up Maury Curtis Dunbar, you can see yesterday with the stencils that we were working on yesterday. Those will go on a piece of furniture tomorrow, and you'll be able to see that. This is revealing itself really nicely. Come on. It's just my tweezers are very sharp, and they're wanting to actually go into the fabric instead of under the vinyl. And you see what I say. I'm going to have these little pieces of plastic on me everywhere. In a minute, I'll flip this around so that the reindeer shape is facing you. You can see the design while I pluck out the last of it up top. Look how cool this is already looking, and we haven't even taken off the outline yet. The big ah moment is always when the outline comes off and you get to see the whole thing in its glory. Okay, let me turn this around so it's facing you all. Need these to not stick to my hands. This is getting annoying. It's all over me. Okay. That. Let's get in over here and get this up. Now, not everybody knows this, but I am an absolute horror movie lover. So the funny thing is, I find them. I don't find them scary. Sometimes I find them funny, but most of the time I actually find them like really, really entertaining and relaxing because I don't take them as seriously. So one of my favorites movies and shows is American Horror Story. So I've watched every season. Some seasons have been good, some seasons have been but I'm currently rewatching them, and it's really fun to go back over your favorite seasons to see if they still hold up as you remember them. And I will have to say that the second season, which was called Asylum, still as weird, still as good and entertaining as it was the first time I saw it. Now I know it's not everybody's gig, and I get that. But if you're a horror, I don't love romantic comedies because I find them a little too predictable. And that's just me. But there are some that I still love. But I tell you, if there's comedies I love, I love something that's got like Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, and I love The Heat. I thought they were great in that together. I get a big kick out of like just really goofy comedies, like Tag. Tag was another one that I get a big kick out of. I enjoy that. And this is going to be one of those things you're either going to love me or hate me for it, but I love the movies Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2. Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, those guys. It's because they are just silly. And I find those really just like if I'm in a bad mood, I need something like that. These are all sticking to my fingers. And my fingers are turning blue with stencil vinyl. Oh, we're getting to the end though. We are getting there. know this is very tedious, and normally the projects I do for live go much faster, but not today. That's not what you're getting today. You're getting one of my more slow-paced projects. So if you can handle the pace, awesome. If not, I will probably be time-lapsing and editing all of this and doing it into a 30-second short. You know, somebody's saying, you mean I actually stuck around and watched this whole thing? Okay, let's get the last of these off. And we are almost there. I just got one little Christmas ornament left to do. I had these guys to get off of here. Now, after it's dry, you can come in with our Deco Foil liquid adhesive, which I don't happen to have sitting right here with me, even though I thought I did. You can enhance it, you can bejewel it, you can create more patterns and add foil to it. That's all very cool ideas. Okay, let me get this off my fingers so that I can then grab. It's sticking to me. My fingers are covered with this vinyl. Let's pull this off. I mean, look how cool that is. And it's rumpled right now because I haven't smoothed it out. Oh, I got a couple more pieces of vinyl down here that I missed. I have a feeling that's going to be what happens all day today. Or I'm going to come back tomorrow and go, damn, I missed a bunch of stuff. That's what happens with these super detailed. But look how pretty that is. Look how lovely, lovely, lovely that is, like this. I couldn't be more pleased with it. Yes, I think we lost some of the lines here for the ornaments. You know what? I can paint it in. I can do it. Not a big deal. I think that's so pretty painted. And then we're going to come back and we're going to grab this guy that we did with the heat transfer vinyl adhesive. And we're going to start peeling off bits of vinyl, or bits of foil. And I'm going slowly, and again, I'm rolling it back because I don't want to put pressure, I don't want to add, tension onto my pattern. But this is coming out so far really darling. Look how fun this is. How awesome would this be to just give your best friend or your sister or your mother-in-law or your mom. I got a little piece of foil stuck right on there. It needs to be peeled up. I'll get that in a minute. This happens sometimes. Get that under there. How great would it be to give her a gift in this bag? Because you know she'll love the bag as much as the gift. Or make the bag the gift. And of course you can do this kind of thing with sports logos and stuff. Various places sell the sports logos, so you can get those. Oh, come on, come off of there. Really, this is going to be the one piece that doesn't want to come off. There we go. I can see there's a little tiny piece of vinyl attached to there. There we go. Look how awesome that is as well. Now we have got these two beautiful bags, different styles completely, just as wonderful. HTVA works great on these polyester blend bags. The vinyl for stencils works just great. I'm going to zoom back out so we can see these a little bigger. And actually I am fully zoomed out. I thought I had zoomed in a little bit. But look how wonderful these look. I am so pleased. I think these are just stunning. I think this is probably a fun way to do gift bags, to do any special gifts. If you've got a little girl in your life who likes tote bags for her books, if you've got a boy, you can use the black bags or the blue bags. If you don't, you can use any color. I'm not trying to gender lock any color, but you know, if they've got sports equipment or after school stuff, music, if they're taking music classes, I think these just came out so great, and I'm really, really happy with them. All right, let me flip the camera up, make sure you all can see me. Thank you for giving me so much time today. These took quite a while, I know that. So I hope it was worth waiting for you. I couldn't be more pleased with the results. I think foil or paint, these both work great. I might not necessarily pick the most complicated pattern on the face of the earth next time, but I love them both. I can't wait to use them this holiday season. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming and giving me some of your time. I appreciate it. Have a great afternoon. Bye.